As long as we come on air every evening, the whole world must listen. As long as we preach this very gospel, Chukwokika Abiyama must be with us. Therefore, without any further hesitation, we must proceed to offer every prayer to Chukwu Okike Abiyama who resided in heaven. Therefore, as we always commence, not from today, but from of old, our Father who art in heaven, Nanyị nke bi n'eluigwe, ka aha gị dị nsọ, that your name may be hallowed by men, that we may bow at the mention of it, that we may offer every glory unto thee, that we may offer you every adoration and adulation, because there is none like thee. You fight our battles for us. Every blessed day you demonstrate through your kindness and your everlasting mercy that you are our Lord, our God, and our Creator. This evening we offer these your children unto thee. All over this very planet that you created, they are listening across the entire 24 time zones on this very planet where they inhabit. They are listening to your gospel this very evening, this gospel of redemption, a gospel of hope, a gospel of restoration, a gospel of renewal, this very gospel of freedom, this very gospel of emancipation as only you ordained, that this very gospel must be preached, that mankind may be set free from the eternal damnation of the creation of the British. My goodness me, I want to remain in the spirit, because we must worship heaven. We answer your name, O Lord of hosts. Everything about us is designed to offer glory unto thee. We have atoned for our sins last year. This very year we have not only atoned for our sins, we have spilled, we have shed blood, they have shed our blood. We have let our sacrifice be made unto thee. Even on the 30th of August, as we are being felled by the bullets of the enemy, by the workers of iniquity and of darkness, we remain very strong today to beckon upon thee, to ask you for your mercy and for your grace, to ensure that your kingdom is restored upon the face of the earth, that you can bring your healing hand to bear upon the life of those of them that you created for one singular purpose, and that purpose alone, which is to worship you in truth and in every honesty. Is there any way that we have erred? Is there any way that our ancestors may have sinned? We confess before a congregation of the whole of humanity to ask you, O Lord of hosts, to have mercy upon us. You must have mercy upon us. We have suffered enough. We have been subjugated enough. We have been tortured enough. We have been imprisoned enough. We did not do these people anything. Our only crime is to answer your name. Our only crime is to be born your children. Our only crime is to excel at everything that we place our hands into. Our only crime is to exhibit your glory and your blessing, which manifestedly is upon our lives every blessed day. That is why they want to kill us. That is why the British want to join those of them who don't know you to destroy your creation and your inheritance. You will not allow shame to befall your name. You will not allow the enemies to triumph over the lives of your children, because you created us to exist, to worship, to honor, and to praise you. That is exactly what we are going to do when this Biafra comes. It will come in truth and in every honesty, because we remain every blessed day whiter than white and whiter than snow. Is there any way that we have sinned that you cannot forgive us our trespasses, to enable us to fulfill your own word which was spoken thousands of years ago, that instead of what you promised not to come to pass, that heaven and earth will cease to exist. You opened your mouth to bless mankind to the coming of Yahweh Yeshua, who came here and said, let your kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. Those words can never be in vain because they are anchored upon your holiness and your magnificence. That is why in the end we know that Biafra will come, that these children that we have given birth to all over the world, and their children, and their children, and their children, as long as they give birth to them and they are Biafrans, they will worship you in truth and honesty. Through this very work we are doing, mankind will come to understand you. Let your miracle be wrought in our lives. Let us witness and behold your magnificence, your holiness, your mystery, and your grace under our command. O Lord of hosts, we call upon you. We call upon you to heal. We call upon you to provide succor to those of them who are inconsolable. We ask you to come and strengthen those who are weak. We ask you to restore hope where there is hopelessness. We ask you for inclusion where there is destitution. We ask you for one brotherhood, one camaraderie, one bone, one blood, and one flesh of your children. The Efiks and the Bibios, the Izon, the Shekiri, the Isobos, and also those of them from Isoko. We are traveling all the way to the lands of Igala. We are moving on from there to Idoma, to Igede, to the territories of the Igbo land. All these places we dedicate unto thee. All these lands of yours, we ask you to cover it with your mercy, because Biafra will come, and when it does, we will dance on the streets. I'm telling you, by the time that we are done, humanity will think that we are mad, we are drunk in your glory, and rightfully so, because your kingdom will come to rest upon this very earth. That very kingdom is the unadulterated, non-negotiable sovereignty of the Republic of Biafra, that your will may be fulfilled in our time. All this we pray, all these we ask for, in no other name apart from that name that belongs to you. He said, my name is Nnamdi Kanu. I am the leader of indigenous people of Biafra all over this very planet, I tell you. I lead indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB. So also do I command the armies of Biafra. They are fiercely loyal. They are loyal, I tell you, and doing the work that I expect them to do. I also direct Radio Biafra, not through any power which I possess or any extraordinary knowledge, but by your grace, O Lord. By your grace, we honor you and we adore you. I know that some people listening, including the British, may not understand what we are doing, but there is nobody in Britain that answers Nwachukwu, the child of heaven. We do. Therefore, when we worship our Father, people should not try to be jealous. They should not feign ignorance or misunderstanding, because we are ancient people. We have been doing this for over 5,000 years and will continue to do so.
Remain adamant that he probably is not going to allow this. He said the unity of Nigeria is non-negotiable. That clearly indicates that he's not going to relent in his push to silence any voice of dissenting as far as that position is concerned. So which way forward to heal the divide between or amongst the Nigerians, especially on Biafra crisis?
I think the best thing is to ask them what they want. I remember one time Professor Wole Soyinka said, if we can continue fighting Biafrans for such a long time, it's not long before we go to war, which is actually happening right now. Why don't we ask them what they want? And for sure they have voiced and have said it, that they want referendum. Why? Because for a long time, they do not have a mutual understanding with the rest of the Nigeria nation. They are not understood. They are marginalized for such a long time. They are not wanted by the rest of the Nigerian government. So the best thing is to take them to a referendum so that we know exactly what they want and separate them if that is exactly what they want. Why? Because if we continue like this, these are crises not only in Nigeria, but it will have a ripple effect to the bordering countries. And with time, it will have a big effect to the African countries. As I'm talking, Africa has the largest immigrants to the world. It has the largest refugees to the rest of the continents. Why is that so? It's because of such crises that we can see in Biafra and Amazonia and other countries like Sudan. So I think before we even move forward, it's very important that we give or they're given referendum. From there, they can be able to sort out the rest of the challenges. And it's quite unfortunate because we have diplomatic missions in Nigeria. Why can't they take that issue with them and sort it out? Why are they quiet? Why is the world quiet when Biafrans are suffering? Why is the world quiet when we know very well that such issues can affect the whole of the whole of the African continent? It's quite sad, and that's why as Punchline Africa TV will continue talking to the world and saying that these people need a referendum. They're not needed. If you honestly you don't need me in your space, give me what I want so that I can self-govern myself, which I think it's a good way and a diplomatic way of allowing people to go their way.
That would be cool. Coupled with that, I would like you to approach it from a different angle altogether. What probably could have informed this agitation for, of course, separation, for a referendum to go separate ways between, of course, Nigeria and the people of Biafra? Let's approach it from that angle as you and ask ourselves, what probably can we do to see into it that we find a healing in this divide?
Yeah, I think it's paramount to understand that for starters, there was no redemption, and the word you just used, healing, from the first Biafran crisis in 1967, to the 3 years fighting. And if you remember very well, there was a brief period where they got their independence, and then the Nigerian military decided to send all the planes to just bomb indiscriminately anybody who was found in that region. And those scars are passed on in what is called transgenerational trauma. You don't even have to tell your child about this. It's the same thing that affects most African countries. You don't really need to tell your child, hate this person or hate this person, but the way you behave and the way you talk about these things and the tone with which you use, your children pick that, and then they grow up with that. They send it to their children and their children's children, and each generation comes forth understanding their history and knowing very well that we are the people who have been marginalized in a country where we are one of the most, we are creating profit. We're bringing GDP, one of the highest rates of GDP. We're bringing the largest group of intelligent people. We're bringing the largest group of talented people. And yet we are the people who are not benefiting from all this. And this crisis goes on in most of the countries that we are finding, we are finding, in the African continent with protests currently like Amazonia and Ethiopia. If you bring in another angle of how the Nigerian government has been dealing with this agitation, I believe, or I think, if they were to avoid the situation that they're finding themselves in, they really should have addressed the issue of why there was a Biafran war. There was a Biafran war, rather, in the first place. As it is, they are taking the Paul Biya approach of assuming everything is fine because we're in Lagos, while everything is not fine. People continue to die. You continue to apply the colonial methodology of handling protests, and that is arresting people arbitrarily, disappearing people arbitrarily. For a very long time, we don't know where Nnamdi Kanu is. That should not happen in this day and age. For a very long time, I don't know how many Biafrans have disappeared, how many have run from their homes, fearing persecution or fearing death. And that is a very old, very archaic way of dealing with these protests. Most of these African governments could have benefited and could have avoided this crisis if they came forth and asked the people, what is it we can do for you? Where did we go wrong? How can we institute healing to begin in the Biafran region to start with? How can we make sure that we set up, even if it's a ministry, or talk to the Ministry of Devolution, because Nigeria was one of the countries that started the federal system in Africa, and yet you have people with no roads. It makes 0 sense, and that is a very bad. It's a very bad conviction on devolution in Africa. So as it is, I think the onus is on the Nigerian government, first of all, to understand why there was a Biafran war in the first place, understand why it still goes on, ask the people what they want, and as it is right now, if they asked the people 10 years ago, the needs will be different, because right now all they want is a referendum. All they want is a referendum, and if they get that referendum, they're going to get out of Nigeria. They're going to vote and ratify that they need to be separate from Nigeria. The thing that the federal government of Nigeria fears about this is because they'll lose most of their resources, and they'll lose most of their manpower and that skilled labor. This is something they should have addressed, to prevent the anthills building a mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I like that. You said if probably the federal government of Nigeria will have asked the people of Biafra what they want 10 years ago, things would have been different. Maybe the needs would have been different. But as it is today, the only call, and it remains so, is a referendum and nothing short of it. Let me hear from Linda Alela what you have to say about it. How can we heal the divide?
To all Biafrans and lovers of freedom and everyone that have keyed in today. We apologize for the delay in transmission, and you're all welcome to this live briefing from the Prime Minister of the indigenous people of Biafra. Ladies and gentlemen, without wasting much time, let's welcome the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Biafra, Mazi Simon Ekpa Njoku, the Universal Ambassador of Peace and the only true leader of the Biafran people. Prime Minister, over to you, please.
Good evening, everyone. Sonny, the Minister of Information, is my voice coming out clear?
Very well, sir.
I welcome every one of you this evening, ladies and gentlemen of the press, cabinet members of the Biafra Republic Government in Exile, ministers, my Chief of Staff, Rabeza, I can see you here. I welcome every one of you, including those listening anonymously, to this space. This is again a very important evening that we will be putting capability where capability is. Without wasting any time, we want to make it very clear today that any attempt to create a state by illegitimate entity and impose this state on Biafra people will be very catastrophic. It will not only be a very catastrophic attempt, but will escalate the crisis to the next level. The next level meaning that the crisis is no longer against the arm-carrying Islamic State under Nigeria military or Nigeria terrorist army, but those facilitators who deliberately, in the midst of the crisis and the war over Biafra people, go ahead with the Fulani Caliphate to create and impose a state without a consent and approval and mandate of Biafra people. It is going to be a very, very catastrophic attempt. And the message the Biafra government have this evening is that every person from Biafra land who actually may be in Abuja on his or her own, because every representative or so-called representative from the Biafra territory has been served with a vote of no confidence. And they no longer represent Biafra people. They no longer speak for their so-called the South-South and the Southeast. From senator to House of Representative members to the list. Whoever that is involved in the shambolic creation of state to cause chaotic situation will be ready to face the music. Biafra people are very angry. They are very, very, very angry.
All right, wonderful people, welcome back to this wonderful channel where we'll bring you back-to-back update and information as the hot. In case you have not joined our social media handle, what are you waiting for? Kindly go ahead and subscribe, like, comment, share, and also remember to on your notification button so that whenever our news is dropping, you will be the first. We'll collect them. Let's go down to the news proper as it is hot. You don't shall for the matter where we say it day for my table now. As it is hot, American veteran don't write to the NIG government. They say they want Mazen Nnamdi Kanu's immediate release. They say if that one no happen, at that time the government go see their true color. They say if Mazen Nnamdi Kanu is not released, that the government actually is going to see their real color, and they are going to tell the NIG government the stuff that they are made of. And that one is just dropping for my table. I say, so people are still concerned about this our brother, what do they call Mazen Nnamdi Kanu Ahmadike, one of Ndi Igbo. Agui Ironsi Wakike Odogwana Manzunaya. Let's go down to the full detail of the information, make you hear as American veterans, American military veterans of Igbo descent, the para. The American military veterans of Igbo descent have called for the prompt release of Mazen Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra. The group expressed dismay over the continuous incarceration of Kanu despite being freed by a court of competent jurisdiction. This comes after a delegation from American military veterans of Igbo descent visited the U.S. State Department on Friday, stating that the Nigerian judiciary has ignored ruling from competent courts, international court, and United Nations opinion supporting Kanu's release. Aloy Ejimako, the legal advisor to Kanu, said the visit has shown solidarity with the Igbo community and a call to action for the State Department to intervene in Kanu's case. The veteran advocacy efforts aim to raise awareness about Kanu's plight and push for his freedom, citing human rights concerns and the need for justice. My people, I don't see as that one they happen. This one is coming from American military veterans who has shown their concern about their brother Mazen Nnamdi Kanu. Onya keji asena izu kama na neji kimalo. Izu kama na neji kimalo. Ha! Kalele anelizi onwefa. Izu kama na neji kimalo. Izu kama na neji kimalo. Ha! Osi okwa mụ na gị bụ nwanne, ife mele gị biko gbayala. That is to say that had it been that Nigeria is of one tribe, I'm telling you, by now, Mazen Nnamdi Kanu could have been released. It is not, I'm just telling you the truth. Had it been that Nigeria is one tribe or made up of only Igbos, by now, Kanu could have been released. Let me tell you, there is something I want you to understand about tribalism, ethnicism. For example, now, if you see a news update in National Daily that says that Nigerians have won a competition, maybe a mathematics competition, world mathematics competition, and you see the names. If you are an Igbo person, first thing you will be looking at is to see Igbo person's name. That person is not your brother, he's not your sister, he does not relate to you anywhere. But you will be happy once you see any name of Igbo descent there. The same thing applies to a Yoruba person. A Yoruba person will be looking to see these people that won international mathematics in Nigeria. Is there a Yoruba person there? And once the person look and see a Yoruba person, he will be happy. Hausa man will still read the same news. The first thing Hausa man will observe is to see if an Hausa man's name is there. A middle belt man will also do same. The south man will also do same. It does not necessarily mean that that person is his direct brother or someone even anywhere close to him, but just to hear that that person is of Igbo descent or of Hausa descent because he is from Hausa, or Yoruba descent because he is from Yoruba. Another example I will give you is the issue of Nigeria's national team, like Super Eagles team. Anytime Super Eagles are playing, maybe an AFCON, friendly match, World Cup, or anything, what every tribe in Nigeria will be looking at is to see a man of their tribe in that particular football. If there are many of Hausa people, you see Igbo people grumbling. If there are many of Igbo people, you see Hausa people grumbling. If there are many of Yoruba people, you see other tribes grumbling. Everybody is fighting to see their tribesman there. I don't know if you're getting the point. And this same thing is still happening in Nigeria politics. When it gets to election, let's say presidential election, you will find out that an Igbo man will just support an Igbo man without caring for what he's going to do for him or what he's not going to do for him. An Hausa man will also support an Hausa man without caring what he's going to do for him or what he's not going to do. Yoruba man does the same. Now, if you watch during the time of Muhammadu Buhari, during his tenure, you will find out that most of the people that are in the top positions are Hausas, Fulanis. You go to the Attorney General of the Federation, you go to the Chief Judge, you go to the Army, you go to the Civil Defense, you go to the Police, you go to Naval. You see that the top people there are Fulanis and Hausas. Now, this present government has taken over. You find that the person that is the Attorney General of the Federation is a Yoruba man. The Chief Judge is a Yoruba man. In other offices, you see Yoruba people. This is what being tribalistic and ethnicism can cause for a nation. The reason why I'm trying to clarify you on this is for you to know that what is keeping Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in the DSS detention is not the crime he committed. What is actually keeping him in that DSS detention is tribalism. Buhari will say, after all, it's not my brother. What concerns me? They will tell him that, please, what is happening? The Nnamdi Kanu you have incarcerated is affecting the Southeast. That is the problem. The reason why the Southeast is not moving forward, there is insecurity everywhere. Yoruba people will say, after all, it does not concern them. And they will hear that killings are going on in the Southeast. They will say, after all, it has not gotten to them. The same thing applies to the Hausas. The same thing applies to the Igbo man too, because those days you will be hearing that some things are happening in the Sahara part. You will not really care about what is happening because because somehow it does not directly connect to you and somehow you don't care. What I'm trying to clarify you here is that if Mazi Nnamdi Kanu or if the president of this nation were to be an Igbo man, by now, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu would have been out of the DSS detention. Or if an Igbo man were to be the Senate president, remember when Ike Ekweremadu was there, Ike Ekweremadu took Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's bond and made sure that Kanu was released from the DSS detention before the military invasion in his home in Afaruku, Ibeku, Abia State, Umuahia, Abia State. Ekweremadu took it personal and made sure that Kanu was released, and Ekweremadu was part of the people that signed for his bond because it is his brother, Obalada Asiasi. Izukama na neji kimalo. Izukama na neji kimalo. Ah! Onya kada woman just ife mere ge gba ya ala nwanne mo. Ah! The iwe nwanne ada elu n'okpukpo. Our father says that iwe nwanne ode elu n'okpukpo. Now let's go to another information as Mazen Nnamdi Kanu heads to appeal court moves to restore bail. The leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, has urged the appeal court to restore the bail granted to him by an Abuja Federal High Court. Kanu also faulted the ruling of the appellate court for refusing his transfer from the facility of the Department of State Service to Kuje Prison. In 2017, the Federal High Court in Abuja granted Kanu bail on treasonable felony charges filed against him by the federal government. However, the court revoked Kanu's bail and issued a bench warrant for his arrest after he failed to present himself in the court. In 2021, Kanu was rearrested in Kenya and extradited to Nigeria in April 2022. Justice Bintanyako of the Federal High Court struck out 8 of the 15-count charge. The remaining 7 counts were also quashed by the Court of Appeal on October 13, 2022, with the judge ordering Kanu's release. However, on October 28, 2022, the Appeal Court in Abuja granted a stay of execution on its verdict discharging Kanu after the federal government filed an appeal at the Supreme Court. On December 15, 2023, a 5-member panel of the Supreme Court reversed the verdict of the Appeal Court and ordered Kanu to resume his trial before the Federal High Court. On May 20, 2024, refusing Kanu's application to restore his bail in line with the Supreme Court ruling, Justice Nyako entered and ordered modifying of the condition of counsel visitation to Kanu. However, Kanu's lead counsel, Aloy Ejimako, faulted Justice Nyako's ruling on 4 grounds. The notice by Ejimako sent to Daily Post reads, "Take notice that the appellant being dissatisfied with the ruling of the Federal High Court, Abuja Division, Koran, BFM Nyako, J, delivered on the 20th May 2024, more particularly set out in paragraph 2, does hereby appeal to the Court of Appeal, Abuja, upon the grounds set out in paragraph 3 below, and will, at the hearing of the appeal seek relief set out in paragraph of this notice of appeal. The part of the decision ruling relating to the refusal of the trial court to transfer remand the appellant to a safe place of custody." My people, I don't see as that matter they happen. This one issue will be say concern Mazen and the can here. I go to wind down the curtain. The by say Ozemena on your malifede manya nyame ya ngwano kemesiano munne.